WPIAL Podcast, Trib Live High School Sports Network. We are here to salute our WPIAL Team of the Week. There are now, with 3 weeks left in the regular season, or at least 3 weeks left in section play, there are now 5 district teams that have yet to taste defeat. 2 of them on the boys' side of things with Newcastle and Sewickley Academy. 3 girls' teams that are undefeated. Blackhawk in 4A, Geibel Catholic in Class A. And our team of the week, the Beaver Falls, the Fighting Tigers of Beaver Falls. And their head coach, Dom Henderson, kind enough to join us. Dom, congratulations on the success thus far with the Tigers.
Thank you. Definitely appreciate it.
You're coming off a good season last year with some key players coming back, some room for optimism. But did you see this kind of season developing back in November?
I didn't see anything as far as how we're playing right now developing. I knew we had a nice little nucleus coming back, and some freshmen coming in that can play. So putting it together was kind of the one thing that me and my coaches were talking about all summer. Trying to put this thing together with our young our young freshman class coming in. Just trying to gel with the older players that I have.
And that's kind of hit and miss, isn't it? I mean, from all you're going back to your playing days and stuff, when you have a nice influx of talent and you have some players coming back, there are no guarantees that that's going to fit together like a nice puzzle.
Oh, absolutely not. I can tell you this: early in the summer, you want to talk about clashes. There were some clashes there. You don't, you got 18-year-olds with 14-year-olds.
Yep.
So there's definitely some clashes going on in that type of cycle. I've experienced it on both sides, playing and now coaching.
So do you have some sort of secret elixir that you may want to share with other coaches as far as how to try to make this whole thing work? Because it's working fabulously.
Yeah. A lot of it's just the players themselves. They're all friends. They know each other from the community. They all go to school together. They might be a couple years older than each other, but they hang out a lot. Once the season gets going, they're around each other more because of school and different things like that. So they hang out at functions, go to
Yep.
the boys' games and different things like that. So that's kind of like their own way of getting to know each other, and gelling on that end.
Well, let's talk about you guys are 13-0 on the season. Let's talk about
Mm,
wins 11 and 12 this past week.
mm,
You open up with a convincing victory over Stowe Rocks, 68-31. Taylor Poland leading the way, 18 points. Drew and Haskins, 14. Krya Timus, if I'm saying that right, with 10
mm,
points for the Tigers. Impressive in that, again, while coaches preach one game at a time, teenagers know what lies ahead. And you had a big
mm,
game coming up on Thursday, but the focus was there. You guys jumped on the Vikings 28-8 after one quarter. So,
mm.
you guys didn't fall into the trap.
Right. Um, like my kids, it's hard to certain games. It's hard for them to get up for. And you have to just keep preaching it. Because certain teams, that are, they're not that caliber, and my kids know they're not that caliber.
Sure.
And they kind of just, it's hard for me to be like, hey guys, I know this team isn't that good or whatever it may be. But I try to treat every team the same, no matter what. And my older kids know the same thing. I've been preaching it since they've been there. You have to play every game the same, no matter what the competition level is. You have to play every game the same way.
So you outscored them by 20 in the first quarter. So you guys were at it at the jump. So to me, based on what you just said, it kind of shows a level of maturity for this Tigers team.
Yeah, a little bit. We still got, I still have a very young team. We have two seniors. And they've been around for a while, and again, a lot of people that watch us, they tell us, hey, you got a really good core, you got a really good nucleus, and which we do. But a lot of my kids are freshmen, and they watch the struggles of not having players on the bench.
Right.
I've been there for this is year 6 for me, and this is the biggest team that I've had since I've been at Beaver Falls. So I've been going into games with 6 players, 8 players, 7 players. Now I have 13 players, and we actually have a JV team. So this is one of the biggest teams I've had, and it helps. The JV team definitely helps when you have JV games.
Yeah, I think back in the day, one of your early years, I did a playoff game of
Hmm.
yours, and I think you only had like 7, 8 players
Yes.
on the
Yep.
bench, and
Hmm.
and I said, hey, throw a wig on, you can maybe slide in there, and you're young enough, you can pull it off. But
Right.
you guys, it's good to hear that this program is gaining some momentum to the point that the numbers are starting to come your way.
Yes.
Before we leave that Stowe Rocks game, you hold the
Hmm.
Vikings to 0 points in the third quarter, and I don't care who you're playing, how much they're struggling. To shut out a team in a quarter is pretty impressive. As a coach, are you aware of that as it's going on? That the opposing team, hasn't scored as time is winding down in a particular quarter, and most coaches love defense, so that's got to be something that you're kind of pleased about.
I'm definitely pleased about it. But one thing I honestly don't pay attention to it.
Yeah.
My coaches will tell me, "Hey, they didn't score, or this will happen," and I really just don't pay attention to it. I kind of just look at my kids and are we doing the right things? Are we talking and communicating on the court? And doing the little things that I asked them to do. So some of the details stuff that my assistant coaches normally just, they yell out to me every once in a while, when a quarter's over or a timeout or something like that. But I kind of honestly don't pay attention to it.
I don't think there's a right answer when it comes to coaching philosophies. I know
Hmm.
some coaches, uber successful coaches,
Hmm.
who who are very in tune to what the opposing team's doing. And then I have known great successful coaches that really don't give a darn what the opposing team's doing. They're
Hmm.
just locked into how can we play our game, how can we play better, and if we accomplish that, we'll win no matter who we're playing. Do you fall somewhere on either of those two sides?
I try to stay neutral to that. I try to basically just focus on my team. We should know exactly what the other team is doing, just from our prep work. But I also know that coaches, every coach is different. They'll tweak some things here and there. And my kids just know we have to play our basketball. I don't look at, what the other team is doing. I just know, hey, we have to focus and play our basketball and continue to play our basketball.
Big game Thursday, with Beaver Falls heading to Quaker Valley.
Hmm.
Um, Section 1, Class 3A. It's either Beaver Falls wins and you have a nice 2 game cushion heading into the final 3 weeks,
Hmm.
or Quaker Valley wins and there is a tie for the top spot between the Tigers and the Quakers. You come out with a very, very impressive 51-48 hard fought victory at Quaker Valley. Boys or girls, never an easy place to play
Hmm.
at Quaker Valley. Taylor Poland again leads the way, 20 points. Drew and Haskins with 18. Um, huge victory for your team. Just talk a little bit about that one.
Yeah, we knew that was a big game. That's one of the things I preach to the kids. Hey, this is a very important game for us. Every game that we play is important. But it was just a big important game for us as far as coming off of, playing Stir Rocks the day, a couple days before. And us basically getting our mentality back of, hey, we have to be solid and ready to go and be focused on the task at hand. I know a lot of coaches will say, "Hey, this game doesn't matter or that game doesn't matter," but I just try to keep our kids focused on every game. I don't look forward to the next game. I always focus on that next game. Once We finish one game, I focus on the next game, and that's it. Like you said earlier, I know the kids might focus and say, "Hey, I know we got this team in a week or two," but I singularly focus on one team at a time, one game at a time. It's the only way that I can coach.
Let me first of all correct myself. 14-0. I don't want to shortchange you guys a victory. So wins 13-14 come this week over Stowe Rocks and Quaker Valley. Is there any discussion amongst the kids that you hear? Any chatter during a practice or whatever on the bus about the perfect season thus far, or is that something that you and the team hasn't really touched on too much?
That's something that we don't talk about. We just talk about what we need to do for the next game. You got the community and school board teachers and different things like that talk about it. But like I tell my kids, man, we're focused on one game at a time, and that's the only way that we have to be focused is that one game. Because I tell them one game can change this or that. So we just try to stay focused and stay straight on, the next game.
And the next game's a big one. Monday,
Yeah. Hmm.
another top team in your section, as you guys will
Hmm.
take on Our Lady of the Sacred Heart. You get them
Hmm.
coming to your place.
Hmm.
You guys beat them earlier this season on the road. Big victory on the road, 44-37. Just talk about the rematch a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, they have a great coach. Everybody always talks about coaches, and like I tell people, I'm the young guy on the totem pole when it comes to some of these coaches. They got me by many, many years and a lot of experience. But like I tell my kids, man, I respect every coach, just like I respect every kid that plays the game. And you're talking about a program that has won a lot of games. They have a very good, rich tradition and different things like that. But like I tell my kids all the time, it's very hard to beat teams twice. So you have to be focused on the game and not worry about what you did in the previous game or what they've done in the previous game. So you just have to focus on that one game and try to stay focused on what our next task is. This Olds team is a good team. Again, they're a
Yep.
senior heavy team. And if you look at our section, most of our teams are younger, but some of them do have a lot of seniors on their team. We have two seniors on our team, and they have, I believe, I want to say they have five on their team. I'm not quite sure, but I think it's five. But they do have a really good program. They have a really good team. It's definitely going to be another important game for us on Monday.
Real quick, because I want the focus is on this Beaver Falls Tigers team, but
Hmm.
you guys played one of the best players in the district, Mimi Thero. She
Hmm.
scored 35.
Hmm.
So any game plan to slow her down may have not gone to task,
Hmm.
uh, you guys still, it makes it even more impressive. You guys were able to get the win. How good is she?
She's very good. You don't see that here. You might have some players that are 6 foot, 6'1", but again, you're talking about an athlete that is 6'4", very athletic,
Yep.
can handle the ball like a guard, and it's very hard to stop her going downhill. And that's one of the focus that we had when we played is try not to get her when she's going downhill. And she can score from anywhere. I mean, she's a great shooter. She can get to the rim. Obviously, she can rebound pretty much over everybody. So she's very, very athletic. And her brother, I was seeing her brother play when he was at Quaker Valley,
Right.
and her entire family is very athletic, But again, it's very hard to stop a girl that's 6'4"
Yeah.
that can move like a guard and shoot like a guard. She can see the floor just like anybody else, so she's very good. And another thing, she chose a great school because that's one of my favorite schools there. She chose.
Yeah, she is something special. So
Hmm.
if folks out there get a chance, go see her over the next
Abs-
month. She's a special
Absolutely.
talent. You set the bar high. This is year number 6
Yes.
for Dom as head coach of the Beaver Falls Tigers girls basketball team. You set the bar pretty high early on. Your first year was kind of amazing. You were coming in, the program was down. You brought some great energy, and they went on an incredible run. I think it's the 14th seed. You guys ended up reaching the semifinals. When you think back 5 years ago, what's one of the first things that jumps out to you?
Probably shocking to me, just because I had a team full of freshmen and I had one senior on that team. And if you would have told me we were going to get to the WPIAL semis, I would have laughed at you. Just because of the section that we played in at the time. You figure you had Laurel in that section, you had North Catholic in that section, you had a great Mohawk team in that section. Um, if you look back, I believe Freedom was in that section at that time as well. Um, I had maybe 8, 9 players to start the season. We
Hmm.
finished the season with, I believe, 7. And again, I had one senior and all freshmen. There's no way that anybody could have told me we were going to get to the WPIAL semis with a group like that. No way. But again, they kind of, we got to the did the playoff thing, and they kind of just locked in with each other and focused, and they were able to get to where they wanted to go for the most part. And like I told them, I see them all every once in a blue. They come home and then they say, "Coach, that was an amazing time."
Oh
You
yeah.
know, and like I told them, I said that was probably a stepping stone for them and myself, because that was my first year of coaching when it comes to high school. So, again, like I said, if you would have told me that then, absolutely no. We would definitely, I would have told you somebody's joking or somebody's giving you telling you a story there.
Speaking of anniversaries, I know last year a lot of celebration for the 20th anniversary of the game. People always ask me, I've been doing this long enough,
Hmm.
and I've seen thousands of games, and I'm all sports,
Right.
because we've covered all sports during my tenure. So thousands of games that might be at the top of the list. I speak, of course, of the game known as the Lance Jeter game, Beaver Falls, Aliquippa, WPIL Championships, Palumbo Center. Incredible, incredible game. It was just spectacular to watch. And then we were broadcasting the next game, so I picked up the broadcast late, and it was just a thrill to be part of it, even though I didn't broadcast the whole game. I've often wondered, for you personally,
Hmm.
you were the point guard for the Tigers. Um, afterward, after the excitement kind of died down, were you more exhausted physically or mentally? Because it had to be taxing on both.
I think a little bit, most of it was physical. The mental part, we practice a lot of those things as far as, we used to run so much. When Coach Biega was there, I mean, you want to talk about running. That's all we did at practice was run, 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 run. So being in shape was one thing, but playing 3 overtimes in a game,
Yeah,
especially that type of caliber of a game, you're like,
yeah,
oh man, it was more physical than anything. We all get together. We talk about every once in a blue when people mention it, and they always ask the same question: is it mentally or physically? But a lot of it was just physical. The mental part was more of us just like, hey, we are focused on this game, and we do not want to lose this game. Especially, you don't want to lose to them at that time. That was our big rival,
sure.
and we would never hear the end of that one if we lost that one, because the year before we lost in the championship game. Um, so it was like, listen, we have a really good team. We split during the season, and it came down to us and them. And, it was like, listen, we just got to play. We got to lock in and play this game. We'll, like a couple of the players say, hey, listen, we'll die on the court if we have to, but we can't lose this game, and it was more, again, it was more physical than mental in that game.
Did 18-year-old Dom Henderson think that down the road he would be coaching high school basketball?
No. No, absolutely not. I had to focus on. I wanted to coach. I wanted to coach football, to be honest. And I currently coach football now at
Right.
Geneva. Basketball was one thing that Coach Biega had asked me to help out with when I first got started with it. I started with seventh and eighth grade boys basketball for him, and I kind of just evolved into it. And then when a job came open, to be honest, it was somebody asked me to think about it, and I took a look at it, and I said, hey, what the heck? Give it a shot and see what happens. And if you told me that it was going to turn into this, I would have told you yes, but I also would have told you no at the same time, just because there wasn't a lot of girls that were interested in basketball at the time. So now it's kind of changed a little bit. Like I told you guys before we got on, I'm at Neshannock. My seventh and eighth grade girls are playing in the winter league right now, and I have a really big seventh and eighth grade basketball team, and a lot of people are like, it's because of you and you're here that the girls are interested in playing. And I tell them all the time, I appreciate that, but a lot of it just comes from my kids from the high school team. They love watching the kids play. They interact with them when they see them. Like I told them, I'm just trying to build this program up to get as many kids out as possible.
Yeah. One more, and we'll let you go, Dom. The
Okay.
Monday you mentioned you're going to be very
Hmm.
busy. You guys host Our Lady of the Sacred Heart. It's also Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Um,
Hmm.
I, I thought, with the Mike Tomlin era coming to an end, there's been great reflection there. Do you look at yourself as a black man, maybe opening doors, maybe allowing other young black athletes to someday think, well, hey, look at Coach Henderson, I can do this. Do you look at it that way, or do you just say, I'm a man who's blessed to have success coaching the black and orange, which is what I bleed. I've been a Tiger my whole life.
Well, I look at both. I believe that, I actually hired a couple young players that played right before I got the coaching job at Beaver Falls to help out with my young kids. And, right when their season was over, they told me, Coach, I really appreciate you for bringing me on, for
Great.
bringing me back, as far as the love of the game is coming back to me. And like I tell them, that's one of my big things. Like, if coaching is one thing that you love or the game that you love to do, and you can give back to somebody, give back to somebody. It doesn't have to be, 6 years, 12 years, 20 years, whatever it may be. I tell them all the time, if it's a year and a kid can come back to you and say, hey, coach,
Right.
you inspired me to do something. And that's my biggest goal, just to inspire the kids to tell them there's other avenues outside of sports. Um, my goal is just to push you in the sport that you're in so you can understand once you get out that, hey, there's other opportunities. Team is team. And, with the team, coach pushed me through. It might have been a situation at home or a situation in school that he was helped me, he helped me get through or she helped me get through. So that's my biggest thing is just to let the kids know, man, there's more avenues outside of sports. And try to push them as much as I can, just so they understand, it doesn't matter if you're black, you're white, whatever it may be. If this is something that you want to do, man, just
Sure.
jump into it. Jump into it.
Awesome. Great way of looking at it. You touch one life, you've made a difference,
Absolutely.
and that's awesome. You're touching the fact that the statement about your youth program getting stronger, in part because of you, that should make you proud. You deserve a lot of credit. Dom, appreciate the visit. Tell Coach Luann that I said hello,
I sure
and
will.
best of luck these final 3 weeks of the regular season and into the postseason.
All right. Thank you. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Dom Henderson, coach of the undefeated Beaver Falls Tigers, our WPIAL Basketball Team of the Week. We thank Coach Henderson. We thank Chris Lackner. I'm Don Rebel. We thank you for joining us on the Rebel Yell podcast on the Trib Live High School Sports Network.